Minister Malusi Gigaba's inaugural budget statement is seen by many as a budget of broken promises. With us in studio, we have Lesiba Mutata, Executive Chief Economist at Alexander Forbes Investment. Welcome, Lesiba.
Pleasure. Hi.
Lesiba, the budget of broken promises is what many are calling this.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
It's a beautiful Cape Town weather. We expected promises that were made earlier in the budget which never arrived. This budget was hectic. So the detail of the decay was faster than we had expected, especially when it's all self-made. In other words, these things could have been very different if you applied a very different logic to it.
And was that the expected logic?
Somehow one expected that there will be some form of logic in how state-owned enterprises are dealt. If you can recall all the messaging that arrived since the new finance minister arrived, he had said that he's aware of the risks that are happening, and he's determined to make sure that there's a reform that happens on state-owned enterprises. He had made it clear that he comes from that department, and he understands the constructs there, and he's better suited to ignite the reform. Which
so we weren't wrong in having hope. We were not wrong in having the hope that something would be done with the state-owned enterprises funding. We were not wrong in hoping that it was going to be reined in somehow.
We weren't, because it was at the World Bank IMF annual meeting that there was a clear plan that he articulated, that he will do things on state-owned enterprises to make sure that they don't further deteriorate the fiscal construct. He had said, even there at the IMF Washington meeting, that he will not go into nuclear, which we didn't see come through. Although there are very different noises that gets discussed from the ministers themselves. The language from the ministers themselves are very different to that which came out in the writing, and also what the Minister of Finance had said. So there's these confusing views that come along. So all that was promised, this was in the offing, and I'm afraid the outcome has been very, very different to what we expected.
Lesiba, why are the shortfalls so massive?
You know, so if you look at the bulk of it, it is indeed a function of a weakened economic outcome. So if the economy is not growing, and more importantly, if people are losing jobs, so you get members in a pension fund beginning to exit. You get a member who was paying tax also beginning to exit. So the tax base is shrinking as a result of high unemployment. So it's understandable. Personal income tax, the largest detractor in terms of expectation versus that which have happened. Makes sense. VAT, similar. But if you were to look at that in addition to that which really we had control over, because there's a difference between that which you can control and that which happened in the market, in the economy. But the former, that which we control, which are around state-owned enterprises, it was left to what I'll call a que sera sera. Rescue them, rescue SAA, with no definitive outcome of how it will turn out later. We don't know what the rate of return will be from that investment that has ensued, which has pushed all the fiscal matrices. Terrible.
We do know that the profitability of SOEs has declined from nearly 8% to 0.2%. So that already gives you some indication of how viable they are. I want to know, if we had taken the further funding of SOEs out of this budget, would we have had a different budget?
Completely different. In fact, that was not the case in the February budget, which did not have these bailouts for SOEs. When you compare that which happened, it really is in the same year, right? In February of this year, you look at the budget and its matrices and what has ensued now, stark differences. And what's making that difference? State-owned enterprises, the bailing out of them.
But there doesn't seem to be any continuity in the budget plan. Or are we just taking it as we go along?
Therein is my dismay. Therein is where I'm greatly concerned. Because from 94, we've gotten accustomed to the following, that when the medium term gets put out, you have a certainty of what the outcome will be in the February budget. It was the intention.
That's
to
the
have
continuity.
The continuity. Where we are now sitting, completely different. I don't even know how the February budget will look like, because in addition to this process from medium term to February, there's a new one that's now introduced. There's a presidential committee set up on fiscal policy. And in there, the reason it was set up, they had said they are conceding to the not sustainable fiscal path South Africa is in. So they're going to deal with that. That's a new contribution. What we're getting accustomed to in South Africa is a national treasury that within its own institutional background deals with all the issues about the economy, plans, does the research, and provides a solution and puts it and tabulated in the February budget without any other process separate to that which is already happening in the National Treasury. This is peculiar to me.
What do you think we should be on the lookout for in terms of weakening economy?
Well, I think there'll be feedback from here. There's going to be feedback from what has happened today. It will be from rating agencies. And when that happens, it's a proper downgrade. Where we have been, it was on 10% of debt. This will be on 90. Then we get into non-investment grade. There will be some flows that goes from here. There will be weaknesses. We have seen in studies of emerging market countries that when you get downgraded, there's a recession that ensues. We could now go back to that process of having a weaker economic outcome, even a recession ensuing. If we don't deal with the big elephant in the room.
How do we deal with it? What do we need to do to turn the situation around?
Admittedly, you can see political influences now in the economics, in the fiscal process. It's going to be politics. It was going to take politics to turn it around. And we are a month away from a very important and an instructive electoral conference in the history of SA. So we look forward to see what the outcome there it will be. But in terms of the economics, it's a clear decision. Rating agencies look at this. I don't need to wait for December to make a call whether there's credit quality deterioration or not. It's there in the table. So downgrades ensues even before that.
Oh, you've just spoiled my day. But thank you so much, Lesibo, for coming into the studio, and we'll definitely be in touch and get further feedback from you on this.
Thank you very much.